please join me in welcoming our moderator for this evening. We have Christopher D. Wolf. Come on up on stage. Give him a warm welcome. He is the editor of Neon is Not Dead, a production specially produced by Zolima to feature Hong Kong's iconic visuals. Welcome, Christopher. It's really good to have you.
Thank you for having me. More technical issues?
It's okay.
Hello?
As we are all artists, sometimes unexpectedness does happen, but we embrace what is there and the show must go on. And next up, we are going to invite our upcoming panel. Please give them a very warm welcome. First, Professor Brian Kwok, Associate Professor of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University School of Design and author of several publications on Hong Kong's visual culture, including Fading Hong Kong Leon Nights. Welcome, Professor Kwok. I hear that many people are excited to see you and want to hear some of your stories. I've chatted with a couple of gentlemen this evening, so looking forward to hearing what you have to share later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. David Rule, co-founder of Tetra Neon Exchange, a nonprofit organization that has rescued and archived over 100 or nearly 100 neon signs in Hong Kong. That's a lot of neon signs and storage space. Thank you so much for your sharing and coming in today. And last but not least, we have Ms. Tina Pang, curator of Hong Kong visual culture at M+, who has been leading neon sign research and collection since 2013. Now, our panelists here, our moderators here. Christopher, passing the stage to you.
Thank you very much for that lively introduction. And thanks to the panelists for joining us, and of course the audience members, thanks for coming here tonight. I want to start the discussion with a really obvious question. Essentially, why are we here? I'd like to hear each of you share some thoughts about the significance of neon to Hong Kong and why it's actually something that we should care about. Maybe starting with you, Brian.
Testing. Okay, why I'm here, of course, I would like to see the exhibitions. So, because you can see the old neon sign there, I think it's really amazing for everyone to see the sign. And about my project, I call Fading Neon Lights project that has been doing since 2015, 2016. I would say that the project roughly divided into two parts.
Well, before you continue, because we want to hear about that, but I just want you to share just a brief thought about why people in Hong Kong should care about neon.
All right. Okay. I would say because neon sign actually really represent the Hong Kong visual culture, first of all. This is not a top-down kind of approach. If you can see that every family business or every business, they actually, in the old day, they put their sign, extend to the street. And they actually put a lot of, the idea and the business philosophy, the visual form into the sign. So this is, to me, is not just function. I think it kind of represents the business. So if we see a many sign that become a Bible of visual culture of Hong Kong.
Oh, interesting. A Bible of visual culture of Hong Kong. So David, what's your take on this? Why should people care about neon in Hong Kong?
I think Hong Kong, it is the icon of Hong Kong. I came to Hong Kong 40 years ago, and the thing that I saw before I came here was what everyone else sees of Hong Kong, which was an enormous amount of neon light. And when you actually came here and got bathed in it walking up Nathan Road, it's absolutely ethereal. And it's something that should not be lost because it absolutely benchmarks Hong Kong against anywhere else in the world.
So it's what makes us unique.
It's that simple.
Tina, any thoughts?
Well, I guess it's an encapsulation both of what Brian and David have said, which is, so in my work, I mean, I think it's fundamentally about the identity of the city. And so neon really captures some of the most significant kind of cultural and social histories, which is what Brian is talking about. It's really our lived experience, both individually through view the city, but also individual industries and so on. So there's the history of the city. But I think from the perspective of how we conceive of our own identity and how others recognize us, I mean, Hong Kong is really one of the most recognizable cities in the world, and that's often Victoria Harbour, often neon, and it's especially captured in our film culture. So there are many people around the world who know about Hong Kong through cinema, not necessarily having experienced the city physically.
Well, while you're on the topic, I'd like to basically go through each of your work, because you're all doing very interesting work related to neon. So the audience has a bit more of an in-depth feel for your individual projects. Tina, can you maybe tell us a bit about what you've been doing with M+,
Yeah,
with regards
so
to
I
neon?
think I have some slides. I don't know if we can pull those
Let's
up.
cross our fingers.
If we don't have any technical issues. Yeah, there we go. So neon at M+, for many of you, you'll know that M+ has been a project that's been in the works for many, many years. We opened in 2021. But before that, actually, we had already been very much kind of initiating how do we approach neon. So my former colleague, Eric Chan, began a project in 2013, which was called neonsigns.hong Kong. So this is now archived, it's no longer live, but it was an online platform in which we wanted to crowdsource what neon signs in which neighborhoods meant the most to people. So it was really a kind of public project where we wanted to map what was still in existence. Sadly, many of the neons that were mapped, so you can see here, this was part of the project. Many of the neons that were mapped no longer exist. So it was an important exercise for us to do at the time. We were not in a position to do anything about it. We had no building yet. We were in offices in TST. But this was really important for us to do. And as part of that, speaking to the concept of visual culture, we commissioned many responses or many essays, artistic responses from filmmakers, from other cultural figures around the topic of neon. So this is still accessible online. We won an award for this, actually. But in terms of our work at M+, what we do is we do collection, conservation, display, and then public access. So I'll just go through some of the different things that we do. So you can see here we have 5 collection objects, by which I mean actual neon signs, which is nothing compared to what David's doing. But we are, we can maybe get into this, but we're a publicly funded institution, and we have lots of considerations around collecting, what we collect, how we collect, and then 360 archival objects, and that's 2 company archives, one Lanhua company archive and the China Neon Light. So, this is where Brian's work and our work actually dovetails, because we worked with Brian in this initial stages, and then Brian has gone on to develop his own archive at the PolyU, so he can talk about that. So this is what that looks like. This is just a kind of screen cap of our collection signs. You'll see that the earliest sign that we have, so we have 5 signs in the collection, 3 of them are currently on view in the museum. The earliest one we have is from 1959. I'm sorry, you probably can't read this, but it's 1959 right at the bottom, Shunhing Restaurant, which is actually in Samshui-Po, from Samshui-Po, a restaurant that dates from the 1930s. And the latest one we have dates the 1970s. So we have 2 of these on view, 2 in the CSF galleries, I'll talk about that, and one that's in the gallery right now. So if you were to go onto the M+ collection website and you just type in neon, you'll be able to see everything that we have that's publicly accessible. So when I talk about public access, this is really about you at home on your computer seeing what M+ has. And this is a combination of things you see there, the lawful gay sign, so that's an actual physical sign that we have, but a lot of the other materials we have are the collection archives, are drawings for neon signs, as well as photo documentation. So this is often photo documentation from the signs, the company archives themselves. So they're doing research, or they're actually documenting signs that they've installed. So when we opened the museum in 2021, we actually had a long kind of gestation period of thinking, how do we display neon? So there were many things that we thought about, things that were feasible, things that were not feasible. We realized that there was really an opportunity for us, one, to show a physical sign, because I think we knew that there was a lot of desire for that, but the reality is these signs are huge. David will attest to that. The ones that you see in the exhibition here are small, but these signs are really, really huge. So we wanted people to understand that, to have a sense of that. We were not yet in a position to do any conservation on them. So what we felt was and I think we came up with quite a good solution. We wanted to show how the signs looked in the city. This image behind is by a photographer called Keith McGregor, who's done a lot of documentation of neon signs through the 80s and 90s. It's not it's a composite image. I think we have to understand that about some of Keith's images. So it creates a kind of backdrop which shows you the density of neon in its heyday. But we're showing two of our most significant signs, one from a mahjong parlor and one from Sammy's Kitchen, one from Hong Kong Island, one from Kowloon. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see what we wanted to do was to talk about neon, making the making of neon signs as a living craft. And so we have the tools for making a neon, and we have a digital display that shows the different stages of how you make a neon sign, from drafting the sign to the actual making of it. And the other part of the video actually shows the journey of the neon sign from the street to the museum. So it being taken, the signs that we have anyway, being dismantled and then transported to the museum. So that's now been on display since the opening of the museum in 2021. The signs are not lit. We just have very clever lighting design from an amazing lighting designer in Australia. And it is on view from 10 in the morning to around 10 at night. So it's open to the public after the museum is closed. And anyone walking through the West Kowloon Cultural District will see this display. It looks best actually at night. So this is Sammy's Kitchen. People really love that. I think this was the first sign that we came into the collection. And then most recently, my colleague Yumi should be here. She's the conservator who worked on this. We took the Very Good Tailor sign. You'll see that was, that's upside down, sorry. That's a photo that I took very recently, actually, in Yamate, of a replacement sign. But the sign, the backing board for the sign was in very poor shape, but it's the smallest sign that we have in the collection. It's also bilingual, and so we decided to take the sign as a pilot project for what a conservation, what the ultimate conservation would be like for us. So we've put the tubes on a dimmer. David will know that actually the neon signs, they're very, very bright. It's kind of hard to put them in an interior setting. So for the galleries, we've put it on a dimmer, and we've included a display of some of the drawings, which will be rotated because they're works on paper, they can't be on view for too long. It will be rotated on a regular basis. I want to draw attention to the work of my colleagues in the research center. So you'll find on the M+ website a link to the research center page where you can request to visit the archive. So this is a recent event that took place last year. My colleague CM, who's also here, our archivist, with researchers looking at some of the drawings that we have in the collection and the display. So elsewhere, my colleagues in the editorial team, we have a regular column in Ming Pao, and over the years we've been able to use the resources of the research center for focused articles about different parts, different histories in Hong Kong. So finally, image credits, very important. Thank you very much. So it's a very brief overview of what we do at M+.
Now, Brian, Tina, there's definitely some things I want to ask you about in a few minutes. But in the meantime, Brian, it was actually during the neonscience.hk exhibition that you began your kind of journey into investigating neon, because M+ commissioned you to do some research. So can you tell us a bit about that trajectory that it set you on in terms of delving into neon as a research opportunity?
Well, back to the years of 2013, I was commissioned by M+ to hold a bus tour, the Lyon bus tour, which is unprecedented kind of experience for us. And after the bus tour, we realized that, actually, what we can do to continue to preserve Lyon site, which is not popular topics by the time. So, and then we have a kind of internal discussion what we can do, and we have kind of no experience to preserve any physical site, and but the fact that we just accept the calling, because if we don't do anything, then the Lyon will be gone just immediately. So we write a proposal to ask for small money to try to document as many Lyon sites as possible. So then we start our project.
And you didn't just document science. I've been to your office. You have an exceptional amount of material crammed in there. So when did you actually start collecting physical material as well, including neon science?
Well, there's many ways, because we, at the same time, we try to use social media to exhibit what we collect, and some kind of people to inbox us that, we're going to close our shop. So do you interested to come to take the sign? So this is one way that we receive the invitation. And the other way is just by chance. We just walk by and see, and we just look at, okay, the shop was closed already. And construction worker, they are working. And we just come to ask, because they already take down the sign and go to the landfill. So we just feel free just ask what you're gonna do with this sign, and can I take it, something like that. So we try many ways to collect our sign. So this is, there's no formal way of collecting sign, but we try our best to collect as many as possible.
And how many signs have you collected over the years?
Well, because our lab is so small, I mean, the areas, we cannot, like Derek, collect the huge physical sign. But we try to break down the sign into different pieces. For example, we can keep the Lyon tubes, because one character or one piece of Lyon sign, they compose of a different part of a Lyon sign, right? So we try to deconstruct the Lyon, and then we can keep it. So we definitely not keeping the whole piece of sign. Yeah.
And you aren't just collecting signs, but also artwork, the drafts that neon sign makers would make before actually making the physical object. So how many of those do you have?
Well, I'm not that interested in collecting Lyon sign artwork until all of a sudden the Lyon manufacturer, the owner, actually asked me, why, if you really keen into the visual culture, why don't you just take it? So I say, why not? So this is the starting point, because we have no idea what's the whole process of the neon production until the first time we visit Lamois neon sign manufacturing company. we discovered that, oh, there's a bunch of neon artwork there, and no one cared. And then as a scholar in the university, of course, this is a really treasure things that we can study. So that's why we convinced the owner, if you think that we can keep it, then I think would be good for us to study. So the collection right now, there's more than 1,000 pieces. 800 pieces artworks, and a couple hundreds kind of a document, like a back and forth paper. Information about the artworks. So we're still doing that.
David, what started your journey to Tetra Neon Exchange and starting to collect neon?
Unlike these two academics, if I may, I'm a practical guy. I loved Hong Kong neon very much from when I arrived here, and I went to a couple of museums. I went to one in one in Las Vegas and another one in Poland, both of which are quite famous. And I came back and decided that we should have something of this nature. It was at a time when, actually it was just before COVID, I started having a look at, I'd seen all the work that you'd done, the dot maps and looking at where everything was. So we commissioned our own survey of what was left. And at that time, 5 years ago, there were about 2,000 pieces. We've lost about 1,500 pieces in the last 5 years. There's now about, they'd have to tell me at the back, but I think there's about 350 left. Over the last 5 years, we've collected 82 of them. So we have a splattering of everything. Much as you said, they come from all different streets and all different walks of life. And my idea was to collect 100 pieces and to make sure that they were reflective of all the districts and also of all the different things that they were used for, from F&B, shoe shops. We wanted a melting pot to really represent what Hong Kong was. Not only that, we wanted to engage with the community that was left, much as Brian found a company. We obviously have been looking at who are left. There's a few masters left, there's a few drawing guys left, there's a few painters left. And we work with all of them within the exhibitions. From over the last 5 years, I guess year one, we did a very small exhibition just to try. And then year 3, we did vital signs and taekwondo, which was very well attended. And obviously this opened a month ago, which is also extremely well attended. And what that shows us is there's a great desire for it. There's a great desire to get up close and personal.
Earlier you were actually talking more specifically about some of the numbers at the exhibition here. So
Sure.
How many people have actually been coming to the exhibition every day?
I think it's over 22,000 now, and roughly 1,000 at the weekends per day, and 300 to 500 during the week, which is, much as I love DX Design Hub, it is a bit out of the way. The fact that that amount of people are travelling to come here to see it is amazing, and long may it go on.
So Tina was talking a bit about some of the challenges of exhibiting neon signs. What are those, the biggest challenges when you're dealing with something that was meant to be outdoors, that is often enormous, that is extremely bright when you're putting it indoors? How do you deal with that? And how do you select the signs that you're actually able to exhibit?
Much of it is down to size. Some of the biggest signs we have are more than 30 foot high, 30 foot by 12 feet. So that hasn't been anywhere yet. Choi Hua, which is number 1. So the Choi Hua sign is yet to be reconstructed, but really we look at the space that we're able to exhibit in. We have a look at what we curate in terms of what should be where. And then it's a matter of basically, I guess, renovating is the best word, renovating them to get them back to working order. The way the sign is made, there's the tube, there's the letterform, then there's the backdrop, which you were talking about earlier, which always perishes, and then there's the frame. The major problem with them is that the frame is not strong enough. So as it rusts over the years, they are potentially a hazard. So the 4 components, we basically take the tubes off, rebuild the infrastructure, and then put, if wherever possible, put the original backdrop in, and then the letterforms and the tubes.
There's a lot of discussion, I think, in the neon world about the best practice of conservation, the extent to which you want to restore a sign.
Absolutely.
And so I'm curious to get each of your thoughts on this. When you've collected an old sign and its fate is to be exhibited, how much do you restore it? To what point do you make it look like it was originally, or do you keep all the decay? What are some of the questions that you're having to ask yourselves? Maybe starting with Tina and what you talk about at M+.
I'm a curator, not a conservator, so I think that's my kind of disclaimer. I think at M+, initially, really our thoughts were to seek the advice of people elsewhere who've actually had the experience, like in Poland, Las Vegas, and so on, and maybe to do actually a conservation-based symposium of some kind to gather thoughts about what are best practice. I think that with the Very Good Tailor, it's one approach. It's kind of replacing the tubes that need to be replaced, replacing the gas, and think about what are the best ways to be able to show it. Obviously, within the context of a gallery like M+, we're focusing very much on the design and the typography. So we've, in a way, for that project, we've extracted those elements for that purpose. I think, in general, probably keeping the integrity of the object is core. So you don't really want to make it look like new. I think what you want to do is arrest any further decay, address things that are like falling apart. I think that's my kind of measured answer. I prefer for a conservator to talk about that.
Brian, you were talking about how you've dismantled signs to the point of storing the individual tubes separately. How easy is it to put them back together? What does it entail?
Actually, you have to first you build a system first. Otherwise, if you set them apart, it's difficult to find the right one to make a correct direction or position. So, and then we build a system. Whenever on the spot, we take it down in an individual part, and then we drop the notes. Because during the shipping is a very complicated process that involves a number of people or different parties, right? So when the tube arrive at the lab, then we have the document to attach with each Leon tube. So this is the simple but effective system for a small project, right? And of course, we can draw, we take pictures before we dismantle in the different part, so that we can, at least we have original kind of view of the Leon sign, so that we can find or recompose the Leon. And for the Leon tube, actually, everyone knows that the tube is a material of glass. You cannot put it on the ground, right? You have to preserve it in a very care way of protection. But I think the bigger challenge for us is we do not have enough space for everything. So we have to do it like hanging the shirt. We put each single tube like a shirt to hang it in the clothes hanger. So to minimize the space that we can store it of the sign. So this is our way of preserving the neon sign. Yeah.
And what's your long-term vision for the signs that you've collected? Where would you like to see them end up?
I has been thinking this because like M+, like David project, they has been doing for exhibiting neon. So of course they are very important in this role. And my side, I mean, compared to them is a small project. So I try to shift my position instead of just exhibit the neon sign. So I put my effort to study neon sign from a visual kind of cultural study perspective, or Hong Kong, what is actually Hong Kong neon sign all about. So I put my effort on this instead of exhibit neon sign. That's why I shift my focus on the neon sign artwork, which is I have talked about because we have over 1,000 pieces of neon artwork, so that we can break down into different periods or different business type of business, and then we study. So we try to enrich the neon history instead of just exhibit neon sign. We try to do another perspective to support or to give more background, information background to the neon sign, which is our position.
And I want to go back to that right after we have a few more questions about exhibiting neon signs, because I'm curious. We're talking about having exhibitions here, elsewhere, but of course, most of the vintage neon that's been collected was meant to be outdoors. It served a commercial purpose. It was in the streets. David, what do you think is the potential of exhibiting neon outdoors in Hong Kong, especially on not a short-term basis, but maybe a slightly longer term?
I think it's possible. I'd like to see a street again. I'd like to see sort of Jordan to Tsim Sha Tsui covered in neon. There's no real reason why it can't be done. It's an engineering issue. The signs were not. The regulatory didn't take the sign or insist the signs were taken down because they had a problem with neon. They had a problem with the structure. I think it's an engineering problem. So there's a few issues. One is obviously the wind speeds here are the winds are getting stronger and stronger. So they need to be stronger and stronger. But in terms of the thing that set Hong Kong apart from anywhere else, I think, is the multi-layering across the roads and the fact that the signage went beyond the central reservation. So it truly is an engineering issue. I think for us to have a street or several streets that were rebuilt in a similar manner to how it was done before with the engineering, I can't see a reason why that can't be done. And there is nothing like walking down a street of neon and seeing your shirt change colour as you walk down the street. I mean, you can do it downstairs later on. It's really quite mesmerising. So I think that there is a place for it outdoors. I think we do need to see a critical mass of it. I think a sign here and a sign here is not enough. We need to see a large amount of it in one chunk, because that really sets how it is and how it was. But there are also contemporary pieces that are being used and contemporary use that can be done to bring it into the 21st century.
Brian, you were talking just earlier about your research into neon's role in visual culture. So with what we can still see in the streets, but especially now in exhibitions and books, what can you read in those neon signs? What have you found that they say about the evolution of visual culture in Hong Kong?
Well, actually, the goal for my research, I like to use neon sign as a metaphor and give the audience a window to look at Hong Kong visual culture. And because I have abundance of artwork, I can see across a different period. I would like to explore different period. Can we see the changing of the visual? So this is my goal, but in reality, most of the artworks, they didn't date by the time they draw the artwork. So for us, it's difficult to identify which year, which period actually the artwork has been done. So this is quite challenging for us, but luckily we consult with other scholars because we are not trained in kind of curator or the expert in archive, right? So the telephone number, the number of digits could be the clue for us to trace back the approximate year of the Leon. So we follow this kind of logic to do the research. So in short, actually when we look at the artwork in around 1930 or 1950, so most of the artwork we see actually is really tend to Art Deco kind of visual presentation. So really geometrical form that you can see. And we realized that maybe the Leon site at that moment is a popular media to advertise the location, right, and the shop. So they would put a lot of effort or meaning through the visual form to exhibit how good they are, right? So in terms of color, in terms of the form. But when times go by, and 1950, 1960, and you can find the graphical form, I mean the geographical form has been changing into very simple form. Maybe this is one of the reasons is more media actually arrive, and then people would like to use other media to advertise their business. So, and the other thing maybe the master, the more complicated you develop your Leon site, the more money you have to pay. So this is also, they just simplify the form. Maybe this is one of the reasons, yeah.
So the kind of work that that all of you are doing could be supported by a neon museum, which exists in other cities, in Los Angeles, in Las Vegas, in Warsaw. What would it take for Hong Kong to have a neon museum that could support research, that could mount exhibitions, that could collect neon, and that could support craftspeople who are still working on neon? What would it need? What would Hong Kong need for that to happen?
Could I just respond to what Brian just said? Because I feel like we're moving into a different topic, but I just wanted to pay tribute actually to Brian's work, because actually it's really important and pioneering work. I don't think, he's done the really heavy lifting of basic visual analysis. I mean, he's correct. These are anonymous makers. So that is a complicated issue. We would love to pay tribute to the people who've drafted many of these signs, but that complicates our work. These were functional objects, and as Brian said, as time went by, the relationship between the client and the provider. It's the same with graphic design. The clients got cheaper, and the demand for these expensive objects declined. But one of the really important things about neon is that it touches on many different histories, kinds of histories in Hong Kong. So Brian talked about Art Deco, and of course that speaks to our relationship with Shanghai. Many of these craftsmen came from Shanghai, and so this history of design, and also our connectedness to other regions. So in Brian's research, you can see in many kind of Southeast Asian restaurants, for example. But then a really significant thing is the relationship of Japanese manufacturers, so electronics manufacturers in particular, but recently the Metropole sign came down. And Metropole was, a Japanese, actually, restaurant chain. So there are many, many different kinds of histories, and it'd be really, really great if young kind of researchers and scholars use the neon drawings as a resource for actually delving deeper into different aspects of Hong Kong history. So I just want to pay tribute to Brian's work, because I think actually we all reference Brian's work.
I mean, there's an incredible amount of material that Brian has collected, the research that you've done, and of course what's in M+'s collection as well. And that's why I wanted to ask about a neon museum, given that, as you said, M+, it's covering a lot of bases. It's doing a lot of important work, but it's not just focusing on neon. So maybe David, I mean, you might have some ideas about this, given that you've put so much work into amassing a collection.
Sure.
How would one go about establishing a neon museum?
It's not easy. It's not easy. I think it's possible to achieve it. I think it requires support from all parties, and I think that most things are led by demand. What we're seeing through the exhibitions we're doing is that there is demand for it to happen. And I think over the last few years, there's been a lot of noise about neon, which hadn't happened before, through Brian's work, through M+'s work, and through our work, and others. There are other groups too. I think it's bubbling to a critical mass. It seems to me that there is certainly corporate support to do it. And so location is the key. Obviously, land in Hong Kong is its most important commodity. But I think if a destination can be found, I see no reason why it can't be built.
All right, speaking of public support, I want to make sure we have a lot of time for Q&As, because we have a big audience. Thank you for showing up in such great numbers. And I'm sure many of you have questions for our speakers, either about things that we've already talked about or things that we've missed and you might be curious about. So any questions from the audience right now?
David, I had a practical question, about displaying these signs,
Sure.
and perhaps this goes to your processes. So some of the signs, they obviously contain trademarks of companies like Chow Sang Sang or Chui Hua.
Correct.
How do you plan to, overcome issues of displaying these trademarks? Would you work with these companies once again, or?
Yeah, we have agreements with them. When the company is live, obviously a lot of the signs are dead. In fact, whether it's the restaurant chain or whatever. When they're dead, they're dead. But when they're live, we actually work with them and have releases and disclaimers and abilities to use them in particular ways. So we basically work with the live entities to work out what we can and can't do. So there's an agreement with all of them.
There's a question just back there.
Say in 100 years of time, when all the signage become LCDs, LEDs, what can we learn from this neon preservation for the future generations?
Brian, do you want to take that one?
First, I think neon is totally different from the LED, right? So because neon involve highly skills of craftsmanship, which is, of course, in the old day, neon actually is a high-tech product. I'm talking about 1920. It was about high technology when the city exhibit neon in the building that symbolize this is a modern city, right? But if we talking about, okay, after a couple of decades, so neon, what kind of value of we see neon? I would say craftsmanship, the historical visual culture of Hong Kong. Because if we just focus on the individual neon, it doesn't tell much. But if the neon attached with the rich story, this neon talking about the city, right? And the neon talking about the business, about the prosperity of the Hong Kong, then the neon has more value. Because you are not just looking at the object, but you're seeing the story behind the neon, which is abstract, but flow is a flowing form instead of physical form. That's my understanding. Yeah.
Tina, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess it's the same, actually, the same issue that what you're talking about is technology. So it's just applying a new technology to the content. So I think that what is important is the form and the context behind each individual sign. So yeah, LED is a technology. It's just a different way of making a sign.
I think it's also worth pointing out that there are still neon craftspeople, and not just legacy craftspeople who've been doing it for many decades, but young people who are taking it up for the first time. And in the exhibition downstairs, there's many works by Jive Lau, who's one of those new neon masters. And you'll see there's quite a difference in approach, in aesthetic, compared to the traditional signs. So it's something that is still going forward. Do we have any other questions? There's a couple, they're popping up now. Maybe we'll start from the back and then come forward.
Thank you. Barry Wilson, Hong Kong Institute of Urban Design. I'd like to follow up on the last question and ask you, if this is such an important cultural heritage item of Hong Kong, is that something we could bring back to increase the vibrancy of the city and our identity? Could we use the new technology of LED neon and our old designers to bring that back, or is that something that's gone forever, do you think?
I think the exhibition downstairs does that.
So you only see it as a museum piece, not coming back into...
I have to disagree. I think that I don't see why Hong Kong isn't the world's neon city. Hong Kong had more neon tube length than anywhere else in the world. It's absolutely its heritage. I see no reason why it can't be put back.
Can we do that with modern technology, though? Because, of course, neon has environmental issues with the materials. So I wondered if there's a new Hong Kong neon.
I think it's possible, but I think you also have to look at the green piece, and you have to compare just how green LED is compared to neon. The thing about neon is you can take it back to its constituent parts. You can grind the glass back down to sand. You can break the metal back down, and you can melt the copper back down. What you can't do with an LED unit is anything, because it's a molded unit and ends up in landfill. So there's neon signs here. You've got some, I've got some, that are over 50, 60 years old. And as long as you don't break the tube, you don't have an environmental problem. Unfortunately, a lot of breaking of tube went on. I think that the technology of neon, the issue, if people aren't aware, is there is mercury in neon. There's a very fine bead of mercury which gives it the brightness. Can we have it done in LED or some other form? Yeah, it's possible. I think the vibrancy is the key, and I think both technologies can live quite well together, and the next technology too.
I think actually what your question is getting at is maybe a sort of a Singapore-style consolidated approach to how a city deals with its particular kind of urban environment or urban identity. So I don't think any of us can answer that, unfortunately, or can approach that. But it's really a very consolidated, I'm afraid, top-down approach to incentivizing individual business owners.
There was another question just up ahead. There we go.
Can we take some from the back? Because I think
Yeah, sure. So there's
The man in blue waving.
somebody in blue.
My one's a quick one. I have a practical question for the practical guy. So I'm just wondering, with the scale of your collection, like how much does it cost for you to maintain your collections and keeping those physical objects? Can you give a rough number?
A lot.
I know, I can foresee this a lot. It was like, how big of a amount it is?
Currently we are self-funded, and it's a lot. And no, I wouldn't want to give you a number. But it was a crazy thing to do, but it's something that needed doing.
So I think David alluded to it before. It's about land value. So space, you see the size of these signs, the space, the physical space that you need to store these. You know, that's before anything has happened. And then, of course, Brian also alluded to it, the dismantling of the signs is a very specialized process. You know, you need multiple people. And to move a sign safely to its end location is a whole thing. And in some cases, you know, Sammy's Kitchen sign, it took us many months of negotiation with different government parties to block that 3-lane road to be able to dismantle that. So there are many different aspects to the business of taking care of these signs.
I'm sorry, I want to go back to the last question, because we have young generation there from Hong Kong at you. I'm not so sure. So so this kind of question I have been asked when students came to me to do similar project, especially the concern about how we see neon sign nowadays from kind of technology perspective, how we can use technology to provide alternative way of exhibit neon sign. So of course I would see neon sign could be different aspects. So what we do, of course, we preserve what we can do to preserve physical neon sign. But if we stay what we have, then more likely we just satisfy what we have, right? So we have to hand over to the young people. They can use their way like technology to turn the form to become art form, to continue to use their idea to exhibit, to use neon as a media to tell the story. So I would see neon is just an object, but if the neon on your hand, how you can make it. So I would see neon as not stay where we are, but how much you can put the limit to further to exhibit what is Hong Kong neon sign. So I think you as a Hong Kong young people, so don't stick with what we have. So we rely on you to give a brand new kind of presentation of neon to everyone. So this, I think, we have to encourage all of you to do it. Yeah.
Well, let's hear from some of those students. There's questions among the Education University cohort.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm the teacher. I would like to think of myself as a student. So now I'm a student. Actually, two quick questions, one quick question for the panel. First of all, thank you very much. I would really like to know what's your take on the pop culture references. Like one of my new friends I just met, Yuting, referencing her. The reference from cyberpunk, from animation, from game, metaverse, and for me, my era is Hong Kong cinema. Like all this frame that you see rows of neon light sign is always depict like a very particular picture, a mood of Hong Kong. Just wanted to gauge what's your take? Why do you think people are drawn to this aesthetic, and why it's still gaining traction? That's one question. Second question is more for Brian. I was just wondering, because we're now conversing in English, but most of the sign, especially those we see here, are in Chinese. I was wondering, in your research, all of these different eras, did you see any sentiment of the use of language? Did any people put up a tagline or some witty use of words in your research? It's two questions.
咁多問題。
講中文啊。
Okay, a good question. So,
Very good questions, very big questions.
okay, for Leon side, actually, what made me fascinating about this project, because to me it's no longer I treat it as a physical form, but I would more interested in dig into what kind of message that conveys to the audience. So cyberpunk is one of the popular topics on that, because when we talk about cyberpunk, we talk about low life, high tech, right? So we are living in the chaotic city, but you can see that there's a lot of high tech things, right? So because Leon, I would see Leon is, because it's not LED, it's not computer-driven media, because they are just kind of old media, and you can see that it's like a human. If we treat it as a visual metaphor, right? I would see it as a condition of human, because sometimes you will see a couple of tube was dim, right? And I was treated as a lively object. So it's kind of half dying, half still living, right, things. So it's really close to the kind of cyberpunk kind of philosophy. So I think it's accumulate kind of a cultural kind of library. So because we are influenced by the foreign culture, right? If you see the movie, a lot of things that we see Leon is typically is Hong Kong, right? Sometimes because it's full of Leon sign, full of billboards. So this is really closely related to Hong Kong cityscape. So this is the immediate image to us. So it's uncontrollable, right? So when you see multiple images for that, when you see the kind of in 1919, a lot of Hong Kong gangster movie, right? They are fighting in the street, right? So this is kind of subconsciously, print the images in our mind, right? So this is so chaotic and so stylish, because when the film director they try to romanticize the scene, they will cut short to the Leon, the lighting and flickering, those kind of light effect, right? That can leave the room for your imagination, right? So this is cinematography languages actually really, to me, close to the Leon kind of symbolic meaning. So believe or not, but when we look at Wong Kar-wai movie, right, or any other artistic movie, so lighting, very rich, colorful, Neon would be the common visual language that you can use and projecting a similar visual culture of Hong Kong. So this is the common practice. If you immediately become a master, definitely this visual language has to be adopted or incorporating into your work will be effective way to projecting Hong Kong style. So I don't know why, but I think just this is the kind of standard, right?
Tina, I think you might have something to say about that.
Yeah, I think, when we were planning the opening of M+, this was obviously something that we really thought about. How can you, in a very direct way, show what Hong Kong, the visual culture of Hong Kong in a very sort of direct and immediate way. And as David has already said, Hong Kong is a neon city. So as a curator, you're always looking for how do you show that? And so I looked at, I think many of you will know that Ghost in the Shell was really modeled on Hong Kong, and all the research around the visuals of Ghost in the Shell was done in Hong Kong in the 1990s. But before that, we can think about Blade Runner. So the idea of the future city, the kind of the environmental degradation and all sorts of things, it's very much modeled on Hong Kong in a way. So how we did it in the opening display was we showed, I don't know if, I think many of you will know that actually Hong Kong is one of the most represented cities in video games. And most of those video games developers have never been to Hong Kong. They've they build a picture of Hong Kong through cinema. So there's kind of multiple layers of mediation. I mean, we talked about mediation a little bit earlier in our discussion, but multiple layers of mediation, how people build a picture of Hong Kong and then come to represent. And I think that's, so you can talk about cinema, you can talk about video games as an environment. I think it's just a reflection, really, not necessarily an answer to the question.
Now, I know there was an outstanding question there, the two-parter, but the clock is ticking, actually, and the exhibition downstairs is open until 8:30. So I want to make sure everybody has time to actually see the exhibition, because I know some of you have not yet seen it. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I encourage you to check out the exhibition if you haven't seen it. Check out Neon is Not Dead, the Zalima Culture Guide, which is for sale downstairs. And thank you very much to our panelists, Brian, David, Tina. Thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you very much, Christopher, our panelists. Please have a seat as we have the video to unveil our exhibition. As Christopher mentioned, it is available downstairs before 8:30. Please kindly take your seats as we prepare the video for all of you.